My brave friends, fans of the Sam Bubbles channel with us today, a surprise that you asked for a lot. Summing up the second part of the horror series from Attention has been paid to our friends. Our friends are sensitive at your request. Make sure you are a participant in the Sam Bubbles family. Press the bell and start the fun. And let's continue, my friends, the second stanza of the summary of the second part of the fun series from Abyss. And Dale says that the people who are on the bus take the food with their belongings, and therefore they have to walk from home and what to eat. And when Dale shows a knife and threatens her with gin, but Bijwa Alice and Fatima on the voice and try to calm the atmosphere, but by mistake beat about Dale, Alice, and Bess' serious injury. The problem, my friend, is that right now it was already night, and they didn't want to take Alice to the hospital at Christine's. But despite the fact that Jean and Fatima didn't care about the whole night, not the monsters, and they took Alice in an Arabic and preferred 2 walking moments amid the monsters to the right north. To some extent, they finally got to the hospital. She's mad at him. But what's important is that Christy, as soon as she recognizes Boyd, she's taking his blood, and she says no, it's not because he needs a blood transfusion right away. Boyd refuses, that Christy is transfused from his blood to Lawless. Of course, his blood is in worms, and therefore worms are not transferred to Lawless, and Boyd does not need worms. But my friend, Alice Bacon Hema and what fish limited his blood type to the same one. Alice is not Boyd's father, and therefore when I was Beacon Chief, Boyd went crazy. So BB decided to be forced to transfuse blood to his son, and therefore Beth, Kay, and Beamer transfuses blood to his son, just at the moment, my friend, and before Boyd says any need, so, no, the worms seem to walk in his blood under his skin. And once Christy, Mary, Kenny, and Fatima stayed, and everyone showed the worms to Dee with their eyes, and Boyd's words are true, and at the moment Dee thinks Kenny and Boyd knows that he appreciates his howl. However, Boyd rejects the suggestion, which is sincere, because it certainly means there is no need. Kenny is hurt. But he has a second thought, and therefore Boyd's peace of mind is all, and he comes out of a hospital in the midst of monsters, and Boyd himself and his spirit after stroked one of the monsters and a Bedouin, so that the worms, what Boyd did his best to understand the monster that I dressed him worms to peep is very tired and spots dead in a way that is understandable, and the worms to peep to eliminate the monsters. It is important that Bud take advantage of the death of the monster. 35. Even if the monsters stay focused with him, and he almost enters the hospital again without any limit. Everyone knows that he is currently getting rid of the worms that are in his blood, and manage the time he transfuses Lawless, by taking Christy Lawless and by letting him transfuse the blood and be Alice. But they decide to understand every need with hatred when the day dawns and the monsters all disappear the next day. Bischoff stayed. That Fatima is with Christy, and by talking, Ben found out from their words that Fatima is pregnant by Alice. And Fatima Christy knows right now that she's 37. If she doesn't know, doesn't she know that she's pregnant? Christy is surprised. But I mean, by agreeing to her words in general, I mean after a long time Peggy K. They have, and they know that she's out. And they know that when they show the monster that died and threw it away, along with the spirit of Fatima and Christy together, and the nature of the monsters is exactly the same. And Chris knows all the time that the monster died because of the worms that entered his body, and therefore his blood is currently poisoned. And therefore as they approach, they examine him and take his blood, and Chris uses it to make 3644. The poison kills the monsters, and everyone is very convinced of Christy's words, and they admit the dead monster to the hospital. They examine him. Just before they work hard, Boyd asks Alice that he means Madame Kuis, take the Jinn and Fatima and return home without so that they stay safe. It's good that Boyd does not need a limit from Donna's house. He assures at least a year in the hospital. Everyone took the body of the monster and entered the hospital, and with Christy remaining, she just started checking it out. Before what she works hard, Mary started to get very tired with Christy's spirit, and everyone shows her, and Besselo, my time, Boyd and Kenny are her money. And, 3017 Christie, that Mary was addicted to drugs, and when the village came here, she had to cancel. So I got tired of my time in the form of taking my time. Christie Marion beat Sib in a way to rest, and then returning with Boyd and Kenny to the monster's body. And Christie started examining the monster, opening his chest so that she would show any here. Simply put, the organs themselves are very dry, and they are mummified. But what is in them is any blood at all, and it remains to sell Christie's nerves. She is in the form that she cannot make poison from his blood. And because of Christie's preference, 3751, she hits the body with a knife. She is a fanatic, and at the moment Debenzel from the body is a yellow liquid like this. So Christ knows everyone that her liquid is an expression of bitterness by the beast. And they know that they appreciate the moment they take the liquid D and study it, they can make a poison from it that kills the rest of the monsters. So I make everyone, and suddenly she got up and walked to the place where the monster's body was, but she didn't meet it. So she graduated with a toy that turned on her. And at the moment, D met the monster in front of her, and Beacon J on her kills her. But Peggy, with a hand, and preferably hits him. Suddenly, Hope woke up from sleep because everything was a dream and she is not on the bed, but we know for sure that Mary began to be a violin in some way, showing the box that Boyd Bishop had cooled. On the second hand, Donna was in her house and talking for a moment with the person whose name is Dale, who stabs Alice. If she thinks you will be locked up at home here, as soon as you see, you will work with him. And you will spend my time in fashion, and you will come down, and they will come back with my time, and they will love to welcome me very much. After a while, in the spirit of Fatima talking to Donna. And Donna knows that she kissed before what Tiggy the village here was not lagging behind, and what is refreshing is lagging behind already because she has a disease. And the strange thing remains that she is currently pregnant, and does not know exactly which pregnancy she is. Because she does not need to. Alice knows exactly what we said about the smear, but it means DOH kindly guide her. And also, Fatima is convinced, and with a report she still knows Alice. On the other side, Bischoff is left, that Jim has spent my time with the Tabby and Eisen family, and Julie, and currently Julie and Eisen have decided that they are going to Donna's house, and indeed they are leaving. 3930. If you think, and Victor Essen knows that the distances between the trees have changed again, and he does not know what is happening to him. And they also know that the tree workers are spilling and falling, which would have happened pure before, and it is clear that in a bad need it will happen, but which is not what he knows. Of course, Bacon Essen is afraid of, he doesn't understand any need. But at the same time, it's obvious that Julie is a rule with Elgin. It means they got to know each other and stayed friends. It means. But what's important is that Elgin knows Julie that Boyd killed the monster. Although it means that Boyd asked that 44. What a monster says. And the Jinn also knows that his psychological state is very brutal for 2 days. That as long as he has no real needs, there is pressure on him. And Julie thinks and suggests to him that he takes a shower like this in the bathtub. He can be guided and nullifies thinking about any need and feeling strange needs on the bus. If you think, and Jim knows, when I'm Randall, he saw a drone pilot flying with him, and Jim asks him, he means use the drone D and explore the village more and more, and take them to distant places that can be in the form of 4037. They get to places that they are not able to get to in the normal way. So Randall agreed and seemed to stay in step with Jim. And they are together for the 2 drones, and prefer to talk only in the middle of their speech. They know Jim's subject that he doubted that they are in an experiment or a simulation, and the whole speech. So they get out of the terrifying village of Deaze. Jim Choi thinks about everything, and he is killed. So he and Wendell decide when they know exactly the spy who is with them in 4110. But in a second place, in the spirit of Tabel, the pub where Jed is currently based, and thanks to my time, bass is talking with Jed, and they know the children's theme, which is imagining and playing the violin, which is always being sold. It's good. The theme of the symbol, which is always the second, imagine and the violin, the theme of Christopher. The book, If My Time Really Turns to the Symbol, which is formed by the thought that she has already seen it in the tunnels with the help of monsters. Then she gives a good that the symbol is somehow very important for monsters. Beetle must have known him on AVB. He agreed very well to her words, and they worked hard after grilling him. Benshoff stated that the djinn was taking a shower in the bathtub as Julie suggested to him, but during the place of the djinn by taking a shower, VJA Pebda imagines the music box is him, and the violin is one of the monsters in front of him, and the strange needs of my time. Because, for example, if we left my time for Kenny was not at home with his mother, and suddenly Tiggy got a call on the phone to sell the house. Kenny and his mother would be surprised, because one day they arrived in the village here, and the phones are not off. But despite the fact that Bird Ken is hard on the call, his voice is terrifying, telling him that they are Jane, and she killed you. After Peep Ken seems to hear a strange voice, Jay from the suit, in which his mother is working to eat. In the spirit of the suit, de Balaki has strange insects, like cockroaches, or sea, and the violin of Balaki the same music box. But the strange thing is that Kenny Bellagio, on his hands, the traces of the burn, the other side remained, was a boy in the name, and by the time he walked, and they knew that she was removed from the base in the church, and he meant, she goes to the forest, circling on her way out of the city here, so they sell. But he thinks about her words, and she tells her exactly what she is doing, so she narrows her walk. That she is not working in need, but she is walking slowly and walking after the spirit of Donna's house and the spirit of my time for his son Alice, and in the spirit of my time. The gene reassures him, and after what we assure him, they knew that, in my time, they extracted a strange substance from the body of the monster that they killed. And they want to use it with the rest of the monsters because it is possible to kill them. But the problem with my time is that Boyd doesn't know how to inject monsters with DSA. So it's better for him that he lands the shots with his D substance after he almost lands the D shots in the gun and hits the monsters with it, and her watch, D 100%, will enter their body, even if it really kills them, you know. Then of course Boyd is very convinced of the idea, D, and decides to implement it. Kenny says that he comes to the hospital with him so that they take the rest of the material from the monster's body. Kenny agrees, and they take my time together to the hospital. And the first thing they get to the hospital is to meet Mary, who is terribly scared, and Christy is a base with her. She gives it to Foyce. If it was the time Boyd and Kenny were in Christy knew that Mary was hearing a strange sound from the situation where the monster was, and because it was very scary, Boyd, Kenny and Benz showed the corpse of the monster. The corpse was surrounded by a large group of cockroaches. Kenny was showing them in his dream. And when the cockroaches ate the corpse, they scared everyone. And they knew that the cockroach saw D in his dream, and the violin saw the music box. And it is assumed that the cockroaches saw D for his capacity in the dream, and he showed them Kenny's burning violin. So they were all surprised and scared because they realized my moment at the moment. They sold eggs of everything that happened that remained about the monster and all the talk about him and the boy, so that he shows her the corpse of the monster and the insects that are blamed on him. But they did not go to the place where the corpse is not without any insects. So they feared everyone, and Donna Boyd advised that he get rid of the body as being cremated because there's a mistake. Boyd admits actually works like this. We forgot about the time when we saw that Victor Barrow had a jacket for Essen, Julie and Biddy Essen, like he used to wear as a child. Then he offered Eisen on Victor that he comes with him and Julie to the restaurant of Kenny's mother. Because they mean they help you pure ordinary. And in the spirit with them, the restaurant is helped by Kenny's mother, at the same time that Tabby was with Jade at the exit by selling monster tunnels. And Tabby knows well that the tunnels have monsters in them and really heal it. Your house is good, because Victor Ma said that the tunnels have drawings of the strange symbol that the workers show him. So in the spirit of my time to the restaurant, I sold McKinney and suffocated with Victor, because he toiled at him. And what he said, every need he knows about the symbols. And because Victor's not normal, my friend. We did not know that he is very afraid of the good, so he left the place and walked, and the spirit of his house at the time, by bringing him a Tabby, so that she would talk to him and guide him and ask him, when I stayed, about his whole past. But he knows it because there are so many people from his past who lived here in the village, and they know that he is simplified, that he is forgotten, that he does not think of any need about the past. And it is known that from time immemorial he used to draw every need of his wife in the village, and the drawings are in Arabic. His mother, who is not here, is cold in the village. And Tabby rejoices and asks Victor for her hands pictures, because it is possible to avoid Bio Victor and take my time for his mother's Arabic, and Bio the pictures Victor tells her. And here we go back to the past and show that Victor is a child. When he arrived in the village here, he was not with his mother, but he was with his baby sister Louise, a violin, and presumably means that Christopher Snowfranked sheep. He seemed to show the symbol and go crazy and kill all the people like what we said, because Victor's mother cheated him and his sister Louise and put them in a safe basement so that Christopher meant what they meant. But Louise, after her mother walked scared, lived in the place and ruined it, of course killed, with all the people who were killed. The day. It means that Jim Randall, when they were together, they had a radio, and Jim connected the radio wire to the drawn with Randall after he had almost abandoned Randall. The wire flies so that it means it answers a very strong signal from a distance and they can use the radio. So it really works like Randall and the wire pilot. But what about any signal with Tiggy? Because they don't know, they fly the drone far away with Randall's fanaticism. And Jim knows that what they are doing is not important, and he is convinced that they are in an experiment. And Boyd and Donna followed the residents on the experiment, and their role is very big in controlling all the people who are in the village. And Beacon Violin on Randall Schaaf's idea that Sarah could be within. Unfortunately, Jim, my friend, believes in the whole spirit of my time with Rand for the church where Sarah is, so that they respond and be a bartender who is not even confident that Sarah's brother has died, so he asks her she is hidden. And they know that she still knows where he is, and he is dead, diligently. And while Mock is staying, everyone, my friend, Beckley Randall makes sure that Donna follows the people who are staying on the experiment. But he means, I don't do a certain need and walk with Jim, and we the Gilead. What they were walking, Jim Randall says that he was watching the monsters, which is not what the monsters know, and therefore they knew they were in an experiment. And no, and your two houses, except that at night they went to a certain place where they were scouting and watching the monsters. So stay, my friend Benshoff, that Boyd, Kenny and Donna were out with the corpse of the monster, so that means they get rid of it. And the problem is that Randall was watching them. And Benshoff, Big Boyd and Kenny take the body to somewhere in the village and burn it, and then they go back to the city, and Big Ablo, Eason and his sister Julie, stand talking to them at the moment. They sold a young man out of his house, and the blood was drowning, and the workers were screaming and asking for help. So they wiped out everyone, and they started showing his money. And of course they did any work, but just ahead of me, on the second hand, they found out that Andel is in spirit to Donna, and he knows that she disappeared to some extent at the place where they agreed and met, so that it means watching the monsters. And at the moment, Debelegy Jim that Rand kidnapped Donna and tied her up in a tree. Jim bit Jim's cheek, and Ma Biconch understood that he was doing a hard job for him. But he didn't agree. But in the meantime, Boyd and Kenny entered the young man who came out to them drowning in blood from a barbecue. and the young man knew that his name was Reggie in the magazine, which means bye. They met the young man. Paula was killed in a strange and ugly way. And Reggie knew that Paula was sleeping normally. And once she almost started saying strange words, as if it was a hymn, she breaks, and her body was broken at the moment. My friend Boyd realizes that the S were definitely attacking Paula while she was sleeping and could kill her while she was sleeping. It's only when Boyette realizes all the talk that Peter is terrified and goes out of the house. At least the people of the city are gathered and they know, boy, for my time, that the day is what invigorates a pure second sleep, and everyone's eggs know that everyone needs to prefer together with each other gathered and prevent themselves from sleeping permanently until they show. Originally, they were inspired by the righteousness of the house to watch the monsters with Randall, and therefore he is almost always in danger, and they need to catch him. Of course, Bill with a hand on Jim in the spirit as soon as my time turns on him, until after the grill of the Palaki. Randall is a fixer Donna and Jim's violin that Jim used to want to disassemble Donna. But Randall, what is important is that Boyette threatens to kill. And Randall is scared and turns away from everything he wants to do. And along Jim Vivek Donna. But my friend, everyone decides that, come on. Take the Arab Donna who was in the place. And here are the parents from here. Before what night, they didn't do anything because they didn't have time, and they all decided that they were going to go into the truck with Jim's stuff, if she thought of it, and I was in the place here, so that means they would be in it for the next day. And really, then they get tired of the truck, and the world begins to follow the night. And we see that Boyd is preparing his weapon with shots that contain the substance that he took from the body by the beast, so that it means attacking the monsters with it and showing his death. And no, the problem is, my friend, why did they spend my time on the monsters without? And when the strange music that was coming out of the music box came out of him, of course, he and everyone was scared, and he knew for a while that the world was being ruined so much because of the music. Durandal remained unimpressed with the situation. Currently, along the Bexar, the truck vibrates and escapes from the place, so Boyd, Jim and Donna are forced to escape from the truck because it is still safe. And it is better that Boyd kept hitting on the monsters with a pure monster, including Dumet. And they all run on Donna's car, and although they didn't have the keys, but they can turn it on and escape from here on their way to Donna's house. But Randall stayed in the meantime. He has a D. But in the meantime, without us, Reggie, Jose, Paula, violin, means Christy and Mary. So that means they sit here together with people here, so that they sleep and be safe. And we show, my friend, that Mary, her condition is so brutal that she kindly dreams and shows strange and terrifying needs. And after a long time, Jim, Boyd and Donna get home and be safe. And yet here there is no problem. The problems start when Mary starts to get tired in a natural way and suddenly cuts herself pure, as if she died, of course, by bringing her Christy, Boyd's violin, and everyone. Boyd knows that from time immemorial he had strange dreams about the village here, and he did not understand its meaning, and he did not even think of it, but he was at Siming. He forgot about it all the time. But all of a sudden, when he found out that Fatima was pregnant by chance, what do you know what happened to him? He thought up one of the dreams with its consequences related to the place. And Jean says that in the dream, he saw the strange child who had previously appeared to Victor and Sarah, if they thought, and because Paula got sick before she died, she said the same hymn D, and Boyd started to get scared and felt that the hymn D had something to do with their being here at the same time. So Tabby formed a base with Jade and 2 workers showing the drawings with Victor's equipment. It is important that in the midst of what Tabby and Jade did in the drawings, with which Victor Belagua painted the lighthouse in which I am locked up, if you think, and Tabby Jet knows that by showing the lighthouse to Berta, she is a violin in her dreams, and by showing that the terrifying children who appear to her always ask her to see the lighthouse. I know, and my father knew well that Victor had told her almost before that his mother, before she died, had gone mad. And she had always pretended that, in a lighthouse in the village here, and in kidnapped children in it, you need to go here and free them if they want to return home. And therefore you start to feel that it is necessary to meet the Lighthouse D so that they can get out of here. Pio finds on her words, and they really work like that. At the same time, they hear grandfather and Tabby's screaming sound. Pie, another one, after the grilling of Peggy Boyd at Julie, and currently, with the consent of Peggy Christie and Kenny, and with the expectation of Christie, reveals to Julie that Julie, after heavy screaming, knocked her into a coma, and from her watch to my very moment in 53:55. At the same time, Benshoff was struck by the idea that Donna, along with Jean and Dyler, when I was running around on Randall in the forest, he actually fell off and Bacon was in a coma, dressed as Julie. And once he stayed, my friend Benshoff, that Randall preferred screaming as if he was being tortured, and with Julie being cold at the same moment screaming while she was in. Why should everyone understand what is happening, so that my mind can comfort people? Deveptali be sure to answer his secret. And while I am in the forest, I know that before they were in the forest, he entered. Of course, his name is Martin, and Martin. Of course, his blood is mixed with Boyd's blood. From then on, the parents are walking in Boyd's hands until they moved one of the monsters as we healed, and he was destined to kill him with blood. The idea remains that Boyd knows Sarah, that when he escaped from Martin, he threw himself in the place, and the one where Martin is locked up, and Boyd knows his secret is that he is her pocket here right now, because the monsters are communicating with her. He is still missing a limit of them communicating with her, again, in the place here. And you understand from then what happened to Boyd and Martin from the beginning is sincere, and the reason for what happened to Jory, Mary, and Rand is currently that Boyd, my friend, is 100% convinced that what happened to him is the same reason why my time for everything important means his walk stayed focused so that she can communicate with monsters. And once it seems to be a limit that communicates with his walk in her brain, and a demonic entity was trapped in Martin's body. And when Boyd left for Mart and Martin Aura and entered into his body, the demonic entity moved to Boyd, and because he was in DOD, Beamshay in Boyd's body. And they also know that the insects that haunt people have always followed the satanic Khan with satisfaction. And currently the satanic Khan remains after what he freed, is currently kidnapping the soul of Mary, Julie, and Rand, very close to her. She saved them, and if he killed them, she would still be able to control every need in the village, and could kill everyone, because killing the three countries, if you imagine that it is possible at that time to completely destroy the demonic entity. And it is disgusting. Julie, Rand, Mary, and everyone in the village in general, and presumably means that the music box is somewhere hidden. And at the same time, my friend, by the spirit of Boyd, he works, which he does not know. He delivers me to the music box. And at the same time, by T.G. Del Boyd, and by knowing a very important need, could it be that his daughter Alice and Fatima means they decided to pass because they, unfortunately, mean what they were not able to on paper? Along, my friend, by the spirit of Boyd, bless them and be very happy with them. While Boyd was with everyone's brain was in a second pure place, and he was thinking about getting to the place of the jukebox, and thinking long and joyfully, which is what he is busy with, Boyd discovers a need. Is that the place where the jukebox is the same, the yard where Boyd was walking. And I knew from it the biography of everyone who told him. And he knows with his own hand that he needs to take a fire radiator with him and fondle in the place. And her hour is just the hour he can show the room or the hall where the music box is. After what he realized with the hand of each, his weapon is pure crazy and their house is Boyd that he failed to kill Paula. When Jabkan and a stranger almost occupied the city, and without preamble hit Reggie, Boyd shot him in the shoulder. But Boyd does not give up, and jab his weapon and B kills Reggie 4 at the moment, to Bacon. Boyd is injured and tired in a normal way, but in the spirit of my time with the torch that is with him for a yard. And there he turns on the torch, and just as hard as he can actually deliver to the hall where the music box and Bischoff boy are around at the moment. D. The souls of Randall, Mary and Julie are locked here, and Pete and Bacon Boyd destroys the box so that he finishes everything before Boyd destroys it by showing him my father, the demonic entity, is represented in its form so that it prevents it, and so that Boyd's vision destroys the box and they actually burn it with a torch. And as soon as Boyd has done so, he will show that Mary, Julie, and Rand get out of the state they were in and come back completely fine. But the insects disappear from the city. Sincerely, part of the danger is over, and they appreciate all the people are very normal, sleep at any time without fear. The satanic was there, but, my friend, with affection, the satanic was there. The gas is here, not what I violated. A good example. Not he understands the need and did the granddaddy to enter the tunnels, and I prefer to walk in them to some extent to surprise the children whose strange shape she was showing them. Tabby and Bacon. The children are all countries. Of course, it will be very satisfying not to understand any need. But he feels that he is somehow getting closer to the truth, and we know a good job, my friend. But in the next season, when it comes down, God willing, the last need that remained in the season is to sell. By being unable to understand the subject of children when she shows them and the kidnapped tower in it, and all the talk is there. She tells Victor that all he knows is that his mother was saying that there are kidnapped children in the tower. That Victor's mother was convinced that if she saved the children who are in the tower, she would be able to escape from the village D at the moment. D? By asking Victor if he appreciates her going to the tower D. He knows that he appreciates, and Victor would take her to a tree like this, and he knows that if she entered the tree D, she would reach the tower or the lighthouse by meeting herself in front of the lighthouse or the strange tower. Her time was surprised by the intervention of the tower's follower and kindly looked forward to reaching the last roll. And here he stayed by showing her the strange child out of nowhere and telling her that DI is the only way to Greng. Here is the shock that remained. Hope that Tabby woke up by meeting herself in a hospital. She was surprised and asked her doctor, "So Tabby is Finn?" The doctor knows that she is in a hospital in New York, that in youth, she was thrown into one of the forests, so he answered the hospital here at the time. Tabby is very shocked because she knows that she came out of the village and the child is killed in the village by being thrown out of the strange tower. He's able to come out of the village as a Tabby. What exactly happened to her? And it is assumed that the child is a spirit present here in the village. But it's a good spirit, and therefore he always tries to communicate with people and tries to lie to them that they are coming to the tower so that he can save them and get them out of the village. And his response is supposed to be that the child uses the theme of kidnapped children so that people TG to the tower and long and just like peace. We hope you enjoyed the second part. See you soon with us in a summary of the third part of the enjoyable series. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell, and write to us in the comments about your favorite movie or series.